Good morning. This is, pardon me, one moment. Let me readjust that. Good morning. Good morning. This is David Dutton in the Channel One Atlanta Command Center here in Atlanta. We want to thank you for joining us. It's Channel One America, continuing coverage on Stormwatch America this morning. It's just before 9 o'clock on your Sunday morning, and we have some severe weather blowing through the southeast this morning. Right now, immediately, pardon me, we have a severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued for Carroll, Coweta, Heard, and Troup counties in Georgia for about the next 40 minutes. It's these storms in Alabama, in eastern Alabama, in the Roanoke, Lineville, New Site, 5 Points area. And these storms are moving off to the east at about 35 miles per hour. Let's get some more information on this new severe thunderstorm warning that is just issued. And as you may guess, we have some new equipment, and so we're still adjusting it. But we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Carroll County, Hurt County, and Troup County in west central Georgia until 9:30. A severe thunderstorms or along a line extending from Camp Setsquam to Craigford or near northern Lake Martin move to the east at 65 miles an hour. These things are hauling it. And I've always known that if you have the movement of the storm, usually you get the winds of that movement. Meaning if they're moving to the east at 65 miles per hour, you could get up to 65 mile per hour winds. But the official statement from the National Weather Service says 60 mile per hour winds. Again, moving to the east at 65, some of the locations include LaGrange, Hogansville, Grantville, Ephesus, Central Hatchie, Rootville, Corinth, Louise, Cannonville, Plant Yates, Clem, and Piedmont Heights, Wares Crossroads, Glen, Blackjack Mountain. Again, this is in west central Georgia, a severe thunderstorm warning until 9:30. There was observed hail of 1 inch with these storms as they crossed eastern Alabama. Pardon me, and that's where the storms are right now in eastern Alabama, in Ava, Roanoke, and 5 Points, moving into Franklin, Noonan, Grantville, Hogansville, and LaGrange here in the next several minutes. Let's take a look at the wind on these storms if we can. And we're going to find that you can see the strong winds. Right in here. Again, everything moved to the east very quickly at 65. So to be on in central Hatching, Franklin, and LaGrange here in the next several minutes, these things are hauling it. The strongest winds right now are in Woodland, Woodalley, Roanoke, and 5 Points, Alabama. Again, these could be winds up to 65 miles per hour with this storm. No tornado warning, but some high winds this morning coming through, pardon me, eastern Alabama and western Georgia. The National Storm Prediction Center has now issued a severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect until 1 p.m. this afternoon for portions of north central, west central, and central Georgia. And again, this is to 1 o'clock this afternoon, and this is including Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia. Again, that's a severe thunderstorm watch that has been issued for Atlanta, Georgia, and points to the south, along and south of I-20 into central Georgia and western Georgia until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Right now, we have a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for the next 36 minutes for Carroll, Coweta, Heard, and Troup counties. Severe thunderstorms were along the line extending from Craigford to northern Lake Martin, moving to the east at 65 miles per hour.
New severe thunderstorm warning issued for Georgia. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 8:37 a.m. EDT. Severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near Camp Sequoia to Cragford to near northern Lake Martin, moving east at 65 miles per hour. End of warning. New severe thunderstorm warning issued for Alabama. Here is the full text of this warning. Attention at 7:39 a.m. CDT. Severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near Goldville to Newside to near Alexander City, moving east at 60 miles per hour. End of warning.
And again, we also, as you just heard, have a severe thunderstorm warning for Chambers and Tallapoosa counties in Alabama. That's the storms we're looking at here in eastern Alabama, in the Wadley area, for the next 35 minutes as well, or until about 9:30. It's 9 o'clock Eastern Time on a Sunday morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm David Dutton in the Stormwatch America Command Center. We're live with continuing severe weather coverage for the Atlanta metropolitan Atlanta area. We have a severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect until 1 p.m. for points basically along a line of I-20 southward, including Atlanta, into central Georgia. Again, that's to 1 p.m. 60 to 70 mile per hour winds and large hail are possible with these storms. We have warnings now in eastern Alabama and western Georgia, including Chambers, Tallapoosa, Carroll, Coweta, Heard, and Troup. If we can, we're going to switch over briefly to WSB in Atlanta for more on this severe weather event. And of course, this would not work when I wanted it to. Again, we have a new system in here, and we're still trying to figure it out here. And
104 to 1.
okay, let me do it this way. Give me 1 second.
Is helping in this investigation. We are working to learn more, and we will bring you that new information on air, online, and on our free WSB TV News app. We will have more on that story and a lot more for you for the second half of Channel Flexion News Sunday AM, which is up next. See you soon.
Okay, they went to commercial, and we'll have an update from them momentarily. Again, it's actually 8:58. Was looking at the wrong clock, and this is continuing coverage of severe weather from Atlanta. We're not expecting any tornadoes today, but as always, we're monitoring that as we're in the wind mode. The tornado tracker here on our radar, watching these strong winds approach the Georgia state line from Alabama. Right now, they're just strong winds, not seeing any areas of rotation, but very strong winds. And I want to notice something happening that happened earlier with these storms is happening again. When these storms were in the Birmingham area, they bowled out and produced winds of 70 miles per hour. And that's what they're doing again as these storms are moving to the east and toward the southeast slightly, toward Noonan, Griffin, Grantville, Barnesville, Thomaston, and LaGrange over the next hour or so. Again, these looks like this will be the worst hit areas just south of Atlanta.
next year. That's it for the weekend.
Okay, let's go over to WSB Radio 95.5 FM in Atlanta for a moment. Then we'll go to WSB TV.
Your podcast. The Weekend Roundup is produced at the CBS News Washington Bureau. Sarah Fishman is the technical supervisor, and Ellen Peng provides production assistance. Have a great week. I'm Allison Keys, CBS News.
WSB Atlanta, WSB BFM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk. News, weather,
Traffic. 95.5 WSB. Atlanta's news and talk.
Good morning at 9 o'clock. I'm Tina Douglas. Our top story this hour, some active weather moving into part of the metro as a severe thunderstorm warning is now in effect.
In the WSB Storm Center, I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz. A severe thunderstorm warning in effect for southern Carroll, Heard, Troup, and western Coweta counties until 9:30. This severe storm has the potential for producing damaging winds to 60 miles an hour that could take down trees and tree limbs, and also the potential for some large hail. This is moving to the east and will be crossing the southern metro area, where a severe thunderstorm watch is in effect until 1 p.m.
He says that watch includes Carroll, Douglas, Rockdale, Fulton, DeKalb, and Point South. Your most accurate and dependable forecast is coming up. Tens of thousands were in attendance today in Vatican City, where Pope Leo XIV held his inaugural Mass. CBS News correspondent Christian Benavides.
Okay, let's go over to WSB TV in Atlanta as our live team coverage continues with the severe weather.
Areas of Carroll County, western Coweta County, Heard, as well as Troup counties. With the storm, we're not only seeing a lot of lightning, but we're also tracking some strong, damaging wind gusts. These storms have had a history of producing winds gusting upwards to 70, even 80 miles per hour. I do think now this storm is going to produce winds upwards to about 60 miles per hour, and it's moving quickly off to the east at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. That's going to get it in Rockridge or within Hyatt within the next minute or so, into Knott within the next 8 minutes, Corinth within the next 10 minutes, and Hogansville within the next 11 minutes. So we're seeing a lot of heavy rainfall, and we are also going to be watching out for those strong gusty winds as well. I want to take you back to Storm Tracker 2 HD radar, because we're also watching out for some heavy rain a little farther north, although the storms here not as intense. But we are seeing a few lightning strikes showing up into parts of Paulding County, Haralson County, Polk County, Cedartown, and Jerome. Some heavy rain for you, and that rain is tracking eastward, moving through Douglas County, South Fulton. You're starting to see some of that rain as well. We are also going to be dealing with a severe thunderstorm watch that does include the city of Atlanta until 1 p.m. Coming up, we'll talk more about our severe weather risk as we go through the rest of our Sunday and what you can expect for the week ahead.
That was Ebony Dion, love Ebony, over at WSB TV in Atlanta with a severe weather update. We have no reports of damage yet as a result of the storms, but we do have some power outages back in Mississippi and Alabama as the storms moved through earlier there. As a matter of fact, we can check that live as well, if possible, as the strong winds are along the Georgia-Alabama border. And you can see here, just to the southeast of Birmingham, we have about 6,431 people without power at this time. You know, we have this bowling effect. Right here in eastern Alabama, very strong winds up to 60 miles per hour now coming into Ephesus, Central Hatchie, Franklin, just past Roanoke. And we'll be headed toward Noonan here in about 26 minutes.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Georgia.
As a matter of fact, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued. This is for Carroll, Clayton, Coweta, Fayette, Harris, Meriwether, Pike, Spalding, Talbot, Troup, and Upson. The severe thunderstorms were long and light, extending from Graham to Perrin to Ridge Grove, moving to the east at 65 miles per hour. And again, I've always known that the storm movement is basically the winds you're going to get, not always, but a good portion of the time. So we could get winds in excess of 60 to 65 miles per hour as these storms move through the southwestern metropolitan Atlanta suburbs into central Georgia, and will eventually head toward Macon here later this morning. So heads up in Macon. Right now we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Peachtree City, Griffin, and Woodbury. These storms continue to move into and along the Georgia-Alabama border, moving to the east now at 65 miles per hour. That's why these alerts are going up well ahead of the storms to warn people, because they're moving so quickly. So again, severe thunderstorm warnings from Carrollton to Griffin to LaGrange to Woodbury, in effect for at least the next 30 minutes to 1 hour. And I wanted to put a storm track on this. Might as well do it for the entire warning area. Let's see, 65. And we're going to find it being, and these are in Georgia now, Hogansville in 15 minutes. Thomas Cross Road in 22 minutes. Luthersville in 23 minutes, Blackjack in 29 minutes, Worcester in 29 minutes, Gay, Georgia in 32 minutes, Harrelson in 32 minutes, Woodbury in 34, excuse me, Brooks in 39 minutes, Concord in 39 minutes, Zebulon in 44 minutes, Henna's Mill in 47 minutes, Griffin in 48. And these hold together, East Griffin in 50 minutes. That's the storm track on these storms. You can see, let me take the storm track off of there. You can see a very intense winds coming into western Georgia right now. And again, we are always here every single time we have a severe weather event. Even if they say no tornado, we're still looking for one, because this is Georgia and anything has happened before and will happen again. So we're always looking for a tornado here in Georgia. But again, the main threats are going to be those damaging winds, 60 to 70. And as you heard Ebony, we've even had reports of 80-mile-per-hour winds back in Alabama and Mississippi earlier this morning and during the overnight hours. These are ferocious thunderstorms now coming into western Georgia. Again, if you're just joining us, I'm David Denton in the Stormwatch America Command Center here in Atlanta. We have severe weather moving into Georgia from Alabama right now. A bowling effect here. Let me point this out real quick before I recap the latest warnings. That line is bowling. Could be producing winds in excess of 70 miles per hour soon, if not already, as these storms are racing to the east at about 65 miles per hour, headed toward Noonan, Sonoa, Griffin, Williamson, Barnesville, Grantville, Hogansville, and LaGrange.
In the
Let's go over to Fox Weather briefly as our coverage of severe weather continues, as we're going to have another threat of severe weather in the south, east, and Ohio Valley come Tuesday.
Parts of Kentucky. That part of the storm system actually was not necessarily contained in the 3 out of 5. It was in the 2 out of 5. I mention that because if you're joining us from Paducah, you're joining us from Memphis or perhaps just west of the Mississippi River and you're like, I'm in a 2 out of 5, not the 3 out of 5, or you're in Jackson, Mississippi, and you're saying to yourself, I think I'm Scott Clean and we're clear because we're not in the highest of zones, you are close enough to that zone to still be in the danger spot. So it's really important that you review that safety plan with your kids, right? That you review it with your neighbors. If you're new to the area, a lot of folks here don't have basements. Believe it or not, I think I did some Googling around, and I think that like less than 20% of folks that live in Texas have basements because of the clay and the soil. So most people don't have basements. Where are you going to go in the event of a tornado warning without a basement? So those are the type of questions you want to have now to have answers to. So when these storms do begin to flare up and fire up, you know exactly where you're going and you're not wasting any precious time. Lots of heat, lots of humidity. This spells severe weather for us, unfortunately, once again, Kendall, as we head through the midweek.
I bet it does. And speaking of severe weather, let's head out to Little Rock, Arkansas now, as we've got storms that are rolling their way through the natural state, bringing heavy rain, strong wind, and frequent lightning. And we are locked in on today's severe weather threat with full team coverage and up-to-the-minute alerts. Stay weather aware and keep it here. Weather Command Weekend rolls on right after this.
That had a bunch of stocks in it and really supposedly.
County, but now most of the storefronts are empty as developers get ready to demolish the Cobb Galleria.
I really was looking forward to be elevated to the next chapter.
Why some business owners are not happy with plans to renovate.
I'm using Storm Tracker 2 HD radar to track the severe storms on the move pressing eastward. Our severe thunderstorm warning has now been extended to include Fayette as well as Spalding counties. I'll have an update on where those storms are headed.
And a new resource for Georgia's minority and women-owned businesses.
I plan to continue using it, and then definitely I want to tap into some of those grants.
Why the timing could not be better.
Closed captioning it.
As you heard Ebony say over at WSB TV in Atlanta, who you was just listening to there, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that was issued a few moments ago for Carroll, Clayton, Coweta, Fayette, Harris, Meriwether, Pike, Spalding, Talbot, Troup, and Upson counties. A few minutes ago, a severe thunderstorm was located along a line extending from Graham to Ridge Grove, moving to the east at 65 miles per hour. There we go, we're back. Sorry about that. Again, we have new equipment that we're working with here. And we continue with a severe thunderstorm warning. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing winds in excess of 60 to 70 miles per hour for Carroll, Clayton, Coweta, Fayette, Harris, Meriwether, Pike, Spalding, Talbot, and Troup and Upson counties. A lot of counties here. Just south of Atlanta. Includes the Newnan, Grantville, Hogansville, LaGrange, Sonoa, Griffin, Williamson, Manchester areas. Also areas to the east of Valley, Alabama, Hamilton, Georgia, and just west of Talbotton, west of Thomaston, just west of Barnesville, west of McDonough, southwest of Stockbridge, just south of Palmetto. So if you live in any of these areas, there is a bowling line of strong to severe thunderstorms moving into and across. And what this means is it's like a bow and arrow. The more you pull on the bow and arrow, the faster your arrow is going to go. Same thing here. That bowing effect, the winds are getting stronger, and I wouldn't be surprised to have some winds in excess of 70 miles per hour moving through areas just south of Atlanta here over the next several minutes as we take a look live at our tornado tracker. Don't see a tornado, but we're looking in the wind mode. Usually we look for rotation, but right now we're looking for strong winds in here. We're seeing them coming through Franklin now, headed toward Moreland, Grantville, and Luthersville. Lots of lightning with these storms, by the way, and heavy rain, and the possibility of some pea to quarter-size hail as the storms move into western Georgia. Let me put a new storm track on this, if you're just joining us, so we can get the very latest information. And again, that severe thunderstorm watch is in effect for points basically from Atlanta southward into central Georgia, includes Macon, LaGrange, and Milledgeville until 1 o'clock this afternoon. There we go, we finally got it to work. And we're going to find it's moving to the east at 65 miles per hour. Be in Grantville in 11 minutes, St. Charles in 14 minutes, Rocky Mount in 20 minutes, Blackjack in 21, Sharpsburg in 22, Turin in 22. This is a severe thunderstorm with winds in excess of 65 miles per hour, headed toward Starr's Mill in 29 minutes. Brooks in 31 minutes, Woolsey in 34 minutes, Vaughn in 34 minutes. And if this continues, it will move into Williamson in 36 minutes, Lake Talmadge in 40 minutes, Highland Mills in 40 minutes, and Griffin in 40 minutes. And at least at this time, we're not expecting the storms to die out or dissipate. Thus, the severe thunderstorm watch for the entire area, especially south of Atlanta, and the extended severe thunderstorm warnings well ahead of this line, because the line is moving to the east.
There is one new severe thunderstorm warning for Arkansas and Mississippi
at 65 miles per hour. We are going to get an update now from WSB TV in Atlanta.
Is, quote, grossly out of context. Well, right now, parts of metro Atlanta are either under a severe thunderstorm warning or a watch with hail and lightning, a possibility with the system. Meteorologist Emily Dion started tracking the system early this morning as it moved its way into Georgia from Alabama.
And Sophia, those storms have now already made their way into some of our western counties, and they are moving quickly off to the east. All these areas shaded in solid yellow, that's where our severe thunderstorm watch is. But where we have the rain coming down, we have an intense storm packing a lot of lightning with it. It's now moving through Troup County as we speak. And take a look at all the lightning strikes that we are seeing. Cloud ground lightning strikes over several hundred. As of last check, I saw over 600 lightning strikes within this. So a very electrical storm. We're seeing some heavy downpours here into parts of Heard County, and this storm is making its way now into parts of Coweta County. So it's now just off to the south and west of Noonan County. Our severe thunderstorm warning has now been extended farther east, and it includes parts of Spalding County down into Pike County as well as into Meriwether County, and this will go until 9:45. So in addition to the heavy rain, the lightning that we are seeing, We're also dealing with the possibility of some large hail. So I'd say if you're in the path of the storm here into Meriwether County over towards Spalding as well as Pike counties, you still have some time to move your car inside before that storm actually makes its way into your area. In fact, as we put a track on it, Griffin, it's going to be in your area within the next 22 minutes, Rio within the next 15 minutes for you, Orchard Hill within the next 24 minutes. So very intense downpours with that severe storm. As we go a little farther north, we're also dealing with some areas of heavy rain, and we're seeing that around Cedartown. Some of that rain now pushing through Paulding County on the heavier side around Dallas. We're starting to see some scattered light to moderate rain showers into Cobb County and into Ackworth down towards Smyrna. You're going to be kind of in and out of the shower activity right along I-75. So be mindful of that getting out this morning. You definitely want to hold off until those storms move past your area. Our severe thunderstorm watch does include the city of Atlanta, also LaGrange, Griffin, Eatonton, down into Upson County. That will go until 1 o'clock. So it's mainly this cluster of storms that we're dealing with this morning. Model's not really getting a good handle on that. So at least through the early part of the afternoon, I think we'll have those storms around, pushing off to the east and then gradually weakening as they get into some of our eastern counties. But later on today, we will see a bit of a lull. There will be another area of storms, though, that develop back out to our west, and those are going to be pushing through Alabama, getting into our area as we get into the late afternoon and early evening hours. We're going to be watching out for the same conditions, heavy downpours, as well as the possibility of some damaging wind gusts and hail with those storms. They'll be with us through the late part of the evening, and then through the overnight period, I think that's when we'll get a chance to quiet down. Outside of the storms, it's warm, it's humid. We're expecting high temperatures to reach the lower to mid 80s. Low temperatures tonight down into the mid and upper 60s, right around 70 degrees to start things off Monday morning. In Atlanta, it's going to be a hotter finish to the day with highs getting close to 90 degrees. And Monday, although we might not see the coverage of storms, we are expecting to see a mix of clouds and sunshine, a few showers and storms, but the storms we'll be watching will be coming in from the north, and mainly it's going to impact far north Georgia and our eastern counties. So we'll still be dealing with that risk of some heavy downpours along with the possibility of an isolated strong or severe storm as we go through the day on Monday. It's a low end risk, but it's going to include Calhoun, Blairsville, Gainesville, and Athens. The places today maybe not under that severe risk. We'll see that as we go into the day on Monday. Tuesday into Wednesday, more storms will be possible, and we're going to see that risk level bumped up to a 2 here into parts of far northwest Georgia. So we'll be monitoring that possibility of strong and severe storms all the way through the middle of the work week before things settle down. So as far as the rain that we are seeing, we're going to continue to be watching out for that as it pushes through our area today and checking out that 5-day forecast. We can always in view. If you're looking for dry time, I think we're going to see more on Tuesday, and then we're going to see a next round of storms moving through midweek. On the backside of it, we not only dry out, we're going to be cooling way down Thursday on into the weekend.
Ebony, thank you. It's a story that had mixed reaction in
was more seamless than we had ever hoped. Selling it.
Okay, pardon me, that was the very latest from Ebony Dion over at WSB TV in Atlanta. Now, we're continuing with the threat of severe thunderstorms in the Atlanta metropolitan area through 1 o'clock this afternoon. Right now, they're coming through the southwestern suburbs down into west central Georgia. Be headed toward Macon here over the next couple of hours, as we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect right now for Carroll, Clayton, Coweta, Fayette, Harris, Meriwether, Pike, Spalding, Talbot, Troup, and Upson counties. For about the next 22 minutes, severe thunderstorms were along a line from Graham to Ridge Grove, moving east at 65. You can see the storms here on our Storm Tracker 1 radar from Radar Scope. Storms approaching Noonan in Grantville, moving through LaGrange right now, headed toward McDonough, Griffin, Barnesville, and Thomaston here over the next hour or less. This is continuing coverage of severe weather from Storm Watch America. It is 9:24 on a Sunday morning. Thank you for joining us for a continuing coverage of severe weather. I'm David Dutton from the Channel 1 America Command Center here in Atlanta. We have reports of trees and power lines down in Mississippi and Alabama as a result of 70 to 80 mile per hour winds earlier today. Expect winds in excess of 60 miles per hour and quarter-size hail with these storms moving through western Georgia at this time, headed toward Peachtree City and Woodbury and Griffin here over the next several minutes. Very strong winds with these storms could be higher than 60, as this area, as you can see, a line of thunderstorms is bowing out here, and that means the winds are picking up with this storm, so it could easily go from 60 to 70 miles per hour very quickly if you live in Peachtree City, Griffin, and Woodbury. Take shelter in the basement, send a part of your house away from windows. This is not a tornado. This is high winds that can blow a tree through your window or through your house. So you want to definitely stay inside, stay away from windows, and you'll be fine. But it wouldn't hurt to get to the basement or send a part of your house, especially if you have trees around your house, until these storms pass. Again, a buoy line of very strong to severe thunderstorms moving through the metropolitan Atlanta southern suburbs at this time, headed toward Macon over the next couple of hours. Once this severe weather threat has moved through the southern Atlanta suburbs between now and 1 o'clock this afternoon, that should be it for the severe weather threat for the day. But of course, we'll continue to monitor it. There's another cluster of thunderstorms moving into Mississippi right now. We'll have to monitor those later. And of course, we're very worried about Tuesday right now, a threat of strong to severe thunderstorms moving into and across the southeast, including Atlanta. And with it being very cool behind the front, unusually cool for this time of the year, those could be some powerful storms. So we'll have to watch those very closely on Tuesday in the southeast. Stay with us for continuing coverage, and we'll be back here in just a moment.
particularly in London, as we are looking at drone footage directly overhead. Unfortunately, it is extensive as far as the eye can see, and we'll be bringing you the latest from London coming up. A powerful storm slammed Oklahoma City last night as well, dropping large hail up to about 2 inches in diameter and also delivering a quick 3/4 of an inch of rain. This morning, we're waking up to another day of severe weather in Oklahoma. As you're looking at Oklahoma City and Tulsa, we could see some very large hail, damaging wind, and even tornadoes today. A classic tornado alley setup in the central and southern plains. And we're tracking more storms all the way into next week, and some of the exact same places that just recently got hit hard. This is the heart of severe weather season, and we are covering it right here all day and into the night. Haley Meyer in Oklahoma, Katie Byrne in Kentucky, and right here in New York. You're watching Weather Command Weekend. And a good Sunday morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Fox Weather. I'm Kendall Smith.
Yeah, Michael Estimate, boy, what an active not only day today, it's already been, but it's going to get much more active later on this afternoon, especially around, say, dinner time tonight. And that's following what we've seen in places like Kentucky, where it literally looks like, quote, and I'm quoting an individual meteorologist from Kentucky, it looks like a bomb went off.
And that is unfortunately very strong verbiage to describe the devastation that occurred. So let's head out to Kentucky and let you know the latest information, because at least 18 people are dead in Kentucky. The National Weather Service is assigning a preliminary rating of an EF2 to the tornado that ripped across Somerset, which is what you are looking at on either side of your screen. Plus, take a look at the damage left behind in London, Kentucky. As far as the eye could see, a roof ripped off that home, cars beaten and battered. There are lots and lots of just family memories strewn all about. A heartbreaking scene for so many in both London and Somerset and so many surrounding communities. And reports of yesterday's damage also pouring into Fox Weather. So let's get you caught up on what we know so far, because, yeah, Tulsa, Jinx, this is considered green country, Oklahoma. And yeah, I mean, look at that prolific lightning from that sky camera in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I spent several years living and working there, and this is pretty much characteristic for this time of the year, the heart of severe weather season in the Sooner State. Now, let's take it back the last 24 hours and break it down. Notice the showers and thunderstorms that just blossomed yesterday afternoon and evening, really during the peak daytime heating hours. This happened right on schedule, and they blasted their way eastward at that point, but it was rocking and rolling to kick off our Sunday morning in some communities. That's why over the past 24 hours, we've had more than 140 total storm reports. A lot of those have been large hail reports and damaging wind, but we have had one tornado report. That is coming out of the city of Whitebead. A tornado developed just to the west of Interstate 35 near the Washita River Bridge and moved eastward across the interstate. So if you're familiar with the Oklahoma City Metro, it's pretty close to the city of Pauls Valley. Now, there were also numerous reports of 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts coming out of the state of Oklahoma as well as Texas. And so really high wind. Also, unfortunately, some massive hailstones. Stella, Oklahoma, there was a 4-inch diameter size hailstone that was measured there. So that is the size of a softball, to put that into perspective. Then we also had numerous other communities like Tuttle, Oklahoma, Mustang, Oklahoma, that picked up baseball size hailstones. And when we're talking about baseball to softball size hail, you have to think about the rate of speed that these hailstones are coming crashing down from the sky. And they could be anywhere between 60 to 70 miles per hour or even faster than that. So you're thinking about even an MLB baseball player, a pitcher, for example, and they average their velocity in the 90s. You're thinking about a baseball that's being chucked at your home or your vehicle, not quite as hard as that, but pretty close. Think about the damage that that would cause. Now, you're thinking also about the power outage issue that a lot of us are dealing with this morning. If you're saying, hey, I've got some family members that live in Texas or Missouri and they're without power, what's the situation like there? Well, more than 300,000 customers are without power across the country. Michigan still tops the list, though. About 51,000 customers are without power there, followed by Missouri, just shy of about 49,000, a little bit more than that. So again, This is an ongoing situation, and it's going to take some time for power to get restored in some of these communities, just because of the fact that there are still spots where storms are going to be developing and conditions will be just far too unsafe for folks to be getting up in those bucket trucks and restoring those power lines. Now, here's a snapshot from space. This is our water vapor imagery, and it shows the mid-level moisture coming in right from the Pacific. And when we're looking on radar this morning, that's exactly where our clouds are located as well, and where the thunderstorms are continuing to race their way eastward. So across the state of Arkansas into Mississippi, zooming down to a few of our active warnings this morning. We've got one severe thunderstorm warning for Bolivar County. This is going to last until 9:15 a.m. 60-mile-per-hour wind is associated with that severe warning storm. So that's the biggest issue for Bolivar County. And then we head over to the state of Alabama. This is where we've got a flash flood warning that does include the city of Birmingham. So Jefferson, Shelby counties, you're under that flash flood warning until about 9:30. And then, of course, crossing over into the state of Georgia, we've got a large area that is under a severe thunderstorm warning until 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. So 60-mile-per-hour wind, a lot of lightning, and it's just heavy torrential rain as well. So impacting I-85, eventually will be impacting I-75 here shortly, headed its way towards Jackson as well as Macon. So Coweta, Meriwether, Spalding, Upson counties all included under that threat. Now, then we also have the potential for more in the way of severe storms today. We have a new upgrade to our severe storm potential. It is a level 4 out of 5 risk. This is a moderate risk for portions of central and southern Kansas as well as northern Oklahoma, with that level 3 threat extending from as far to the north as the panhandle of Nebraska all the way down across the Red River into portions of North Texas. So be weather alert today. Make sure to have multiple ways to receive those watches and warnings to stay safe.
We're going to be keeping our eyes on not just today, but also in the days ahead. And that does include Tulsa, Oklahoma on the upper right side of your screen, and Springfield, Missouri, bottom right side of your screen. What could we be talking about? Well, imagery like you're seeing on the left side. That means perhaps that opportunity for more severe storms that could produce tornadoes. These are what we call a level 3 threat out of 5 on our severe weather threat index. Here's what it looks like moving forward. The different colors here representing the different days of the week. We'll start with today, outlined in red. Kendall did a wonderful job explaining the threats for today. I want to go into the threats for tomorrow. Monday, note that that threat zone does include Quincy, St. Louis once again. That was so heavily hard hit with tornadic activity on Friday. And then on Tuesday, this is a big take-home message. It's hard to say, but friends and family in Kentucky, around the Cumberland Gap, Lake Cumberland, that's exactly where Pulaski County is. And then across as you head toward London and Laurel County and I-75. Once again, we have a severe weather threat that is in store for you on Tuesday. So it's going to be very imperative that if you have friends or family in Kentucky and maybe their roof has been blown off, right, the siding of their home, that you get tarp to cover your home and cover your property, because by the time we get to Tuesday, that's when you're going to need to hunker down from the storms. And at that point, we're hoping that you'll at least have that cover for your roof so that your belongings inside your home don't get wet. Tomorrow, that's Monday, starting off the new work week from Kansas City, Missouri. So if you were thinking to yourself, maybe I wanted to head to City Market, maybe Crown Center or the Country Club Plaza there in Kansas City, I think tomorrow morning looks pretty good. Going out to lunch, maybe checking out the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art or the Kansas City Zoo and Aquarium. I think lunchtime looks okay. Watch what happens after lunchtime, and let me highlight the area so that we're all on the same page. Right here, after lunchtime tomorrow, 2 p.m., explosion of showers and thunderstorms. By the time we get to 7, 8, 9 p.m., Kansas City, you are in the thick of things. So I really would say between dinner time and, say, sunset tomorrow in Kansas City, let's hunker down, let's be close to a safe spot just in case we have those big rock and roll storms that come tearing through with the damaging winds, the large hail, and perhaps even that isolated tornado. We're not done yet. Now we skip over to Tuesday. So if you have any big Tuesday plans, maybe it's a birthday for you, maybe it's date night for you, or maybe you're like me and you just want to be lazy because it's your day off, right? From Nashville, Tennessee down through Huntsville, the Rocket City, Memphis, Tennessee down to Jackson, this is an area where strong to severe storms could be seen. And I want to just take a quick moment to mention something. You know where we just got done talking about those big giant storms and tornadic activity in southwest, in central and in southwest parts of Kentucky? That part of the storm system actually was not necessarily contained in the 3 out of 5. It was in the 2 out of 5. I mention that because if you're joining us from Paducah, if you're joining us from Memphis or perhaps just west of the Mississippi River and you're like, I'm in a 2 out of 5, not the 3 out of 5, or you're in Jackson, Mississippi and you're saying to yourself, I think I'm Scott Clean and we're clear because we're not in the highest of zones, you are close enough to that zone to still be in the danger spot. So it's really important that you review that safety plan with your kids, right? That you review it with your neighbors. If you're new to the area, a lot of folks here don't have basements. Believe it or not, I think I did some Googling around, and I think that like less than 20% of folks that live in Texas have basements because of the clay and the soil. So most people don't have basements. Where are you going to go in the event of a tornado warning without a basement? So those are the type of questions you want to have now to have answers to. So when these storms do begin to flare up and fire up, you know exactly where you're going and you're not wasting any precious time. Lots of heat, lots of humidity. This spells severe weather for us, unfortunately, once again, Kendall, as we head through the midweek.
That it does. And speaking of severe weather, let's head out to Little Rock, Arkansas now, as we've got storms that are rolling their way through the natural state, bringing heavy rain, strong wind, and frequent lightning. And we are locked in on today's severe weather threat with full team coverage and up-to-the-minute alerts. Stay weather aware and keep it here. Weather Command Weekend rolls on right after this.
Hi, I'm Cade Courtley, and welcome to the Ford Patriots Buy One, Get One Solar Generator event. Claim the Patriot Power Generator 2500X, and you'll get a free Patriot Power Sidekick with 2 free solar panels. These are 2 of Ford Patriot's newest silent, fume-free solar generators that can power your fridge, TV, and critical devices without ever needing gas. Every American should have the peace of mind that comes from having backup power. Visit FordPatriots.com to secure your free generator and solar panels now.
We're told in Genesis chapter 1:26 that God has made man in his image, and by his likeness has he made him.
Genesis is a book of fundamental importance for the Jewish and Christian faiths, and a literary masterpiece that has profoundly shaped Western civilization. Now, in this exclusive online course from Hillsdale College, you can deepen your understanding of how this ancient book is essential to you today. Sign up for the Genesis story, absolutely free, at learnfromhillsdale.org. Dr. Justin Jackson, a distinguished Hillsdale College professor, will guide you through this fascinating free online course that unfolds the biblical stories of Adam and Eve, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. When you sign up, you'll explore some of life's most important questions, gain a greater appreciation for how the Bible confronts pain and hardship with redemption and hope, and discover how the struggles people faced thousands of years ago are deeply relevant to us still today. Take this 6-lesson course whenever it's most convenient for you, at your pace or in your schedule. Signing up is easy and free when you go to learnfromhillsdale.org today.
So the fun thing with the serpent is, how does a serpent talk? What, and not only that, but why is the serpent's punishment to crawl on its belly when that's what it does?
Join the hundreds of thousands of Americans who are enriching their lives through this exclusive online course from Hillsdale College and gain access to this premium content today.
What I hope you'll get from studying Genesis in this course is a deeper appreciation of the biblical insights with regards to the human person, psychology, our predilection towards rivalry, but also reconciliation.
Sign up for the Genesis story, free of charge, at learnfromhillsdale.org today.
Being single for years, what would it do to you? Would it make you sad? Would it make you lose hope? Would it make you feel disconnected? I wouldn't know. Because I'm using datemyage.com. Grab your phone or laptop. Go to Date My Age. Get started for free.
Join datemyage.com today.
Because normally the storm passes over. It didn't do it this time. It came through here.
And we've received an update on the St. Louis tornado. The National Weather Service preliminary tornado survey found the damage to be at least the result of an EF3 tornado, winds whipping up to 140 miles per hour. Now, the storm was up to 1 mile in width at times, and more than 5,000 homes were impacted. 80,000 were left without power, 38 people were reported injured from the storm, and 5 people were sadly killed. Our hearts go out to St. Louis as the city recovers after this tragedy. Blinding rain in western New York near Rochester yesterday. Yeah, it was not a good situation for folks trying to drive in this. They had a severe thunderstorm warning in effect at this time. And we're seeing storms moving over some of the exact same areas, even last night and into this morning. And unfortunately, that's bringing a big concern for flooding. So from Saturday into Sunday, we've got more in the way of flood concerns, especially for portions of the plains as well as all the way up into the Northeast. So let's kind of break it all down and focus in on the spots that are at the greatest risk for flash flooding, because it's not just the threat for severe weather. We're talking about, of course, tornadoes, damaging wind, large hail. It is that sneaky threat of flooding. And it is a level 2 out of 4 risk for us if you live in places like Kansas as well as Oklahoma and into Missouri for today, a level 2 threat for our Monday, and of course a level 2 threat for our Tuesday. So it's pretty much a rinse and repeat scenario each and every day this week. And even for us for today, we've got a low end threat for portions of the Northeast. So we were showing you that video out of Rochester, and we do still have an area of concern for some folks, especially in New England. Now, when you're thinking about what's going on, especially in the plains, however, it is an interesting setup because that area of low pressure, it's going to be pretty slow moving. And the reason that it's slow moving and why this is a big concern is the fact that it's helping to pull a lot of moisture straight from the Gulf right into the area. So that's what's allowing for these storms that do develop to be very intense rainmakers. So daily chances for showers and thunderstorms pretty much each and every day as we head into the next several days, especially for areas like Kansas City, Springfield, St. Louis, Omaha, Memphis. St. Louis, when you think about what you just went through and you're still trying to recover, pick up the pieces, the showers and thunderstorms that we have on the way for today and certainly by tomorrow, tomorrow is going to be the bigger concern, that is going to hamper the ongoing recovery efforts. So that's why it's imperative that you're paying close attention to radar and also to us here at Fox Weather so that you're prepared and you don't get caught outside when a thunderstorm is rolling its way on through, because a lot of folks are without shelter at this time. Now you're looking at this morning and into the mid-morning hours. Look at that first batch of showers and thunderstorms that races their way to the east and then essentially just fizzles out. And then heading into this afternoon, evening, we've got kind of a little bit of a lull in the activity before that next round of active showers and thunderstorms develop in portions of Kansas, Oklahoma, and track their way eastward at that point. So Kansas City, all the way up to St. Louis, North Platte, Des Moines. Notice all of the impacted cities. And then we do it all over again as we head into Tuesday. So this is during the overnight hours. My big concern is the fact that some of the heaviest rain will be falling when you're asleep. And so you might be headed to bed. You might think, you know what, it's not too bad. I can safely go to bed and not worry about my commute to work tomorrow or how I'm going to get my kiddos to school. And then you might wake up the next morning and say, uh-oh, we've got flooding in our neighborhood and this just dramatically went downhill very fast. That is going to be likely a scenario for a lot of folks, especially in the plains and Midwest in the coming days. So again, there's that area of low pressure. It is still lingering with us as we head into Wednesday. It's slow moving and intense rain rates upwards of 1 to 2 inches per hour. That's not out of the realm of possibility. And that is why there is the potential that we could see a widespread swath of about 2 to 3 inches of rain setting up shop, maybe even 3 to 5 inches for portions of northern Missouri, the Kansas City metro just to the north, even into portions of Illinois. So those are the areas that I want you to be the most on guard, but understand that flash flooding concerns can happen anywhere in this general region. Now, it's kind of a tale of the haves and the have-nots, however. So you're looking at the spots where we're running a deficit as opposed to a surplus. We're running a surplus in places like Louisville, so a good 7 inches above average year to date. Then you contrast St. Louis, Kansas City, Omaha, Nebraska, running a good 2 to 3 inches, even nearing 4-inch deficit. Chicago also running a good 2.6 inches below where we should be. So Kentucky, rain year to date, 33.29 inches so far. This is the wettest start to the year on record. The previous record was 31 inches. That was set back in 1950. So whether you are dry or whether you're dealing with, again, wet or very wet soil moisture, flash flooding is going to be a concern for the vast majority of the region.
And Kendall, how about this? So weltering heat continues for our friends and family in the south. You are looking at Uvalde, Texas on the left side of your screen, of course, San Antonio, Texas on the right. What do the both of these cities have in common? Well, they have been scorching hot, and it's not just Texas, by the way. You look down toward the sunshine state of Florida, where temperatures today forecasted in the state capital at 94 degrees. A quick peek at yesterday, because I want to show you, we actually hit a couple of record highs on Saturday. And some of these records down around places like Laredo, Texas, I mean, this was awfully warm. You look at the capital of Texas, which is, of course, Austin, Texas, 97 degrees. Super duper warm, right? Daytona Beach, Florida, we were in the mid-90s as well. Tallahassee made it to 96 degrees. A couple more records for you. Even in the Carolinas, toward Beaufort, Texas, we made it to 85 degrees. And by the way, in New York City, across the Hudson, you head toward Newark Liberty International Airport, we were within 3 degrees of 90. So it's warm, not just on it was warm, I should say, not just on the east coast of the United States, but the southeast and then the desert south. Look at Laredo, Texas, the forecast there. 102 degrees. And just an FYI, I went ahead and was trying to do a little bit of research for my friends down there in Laredo, and unfortunately, a lot of the public pools don't actually open until next weekend. So I know you're sitting there and you're looking at the pool and you're like, I'm ready when you are, right? Like you just want to do a big cannonball in there at 102 degrees. You might have to wait a week for all that. Let me head over toward Florida, because in places like Orlando, the forecast is 96 degrees. So if you're thinking about heading out to any of the 12 or over a dozen amusement parks that they have there, maybe hanging out with Mickey and Minnie, it's going to be warm. That is for sure. So it's going to be uncomfortable. Note where that highest heat risk is. That's going to be down around Laredo, where we talked about 100-degree heat. And we have more records that are possible from Austin to Orlando, Jacksonville to Houston, Texas. So all across the I-10 corridor, it is going to get warm. And, you know, Kendall, if I told you that it was going to be 106 degrees tomorrow on Monday in Laredo, Texas, if I showed you this forecast and didn't tell you that it's going to be what, May the 19th tomorrow, you might think this is like August.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is Texas after all,
Yeah.
so you do heat up pretty quickly, especially during the month of May. But the fact that a lot of communities in Texas have already hit their first 100-degree day
Yeah.
so far this year, and we're just keeping that trend right on going.
Mhm.
That's what's so concerning, because, yeah, you're highlighting the extreme heat risk. This is a major issue for portions of the central and southern half of the state, so you have to take it seriously.
Yeah, you really need to make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. I was actually looking online. I'm trying to do this, what's called a gallon challenge with a friend, where you drink a gallon of water a day. And you really do need to make sure, especially down south from San Antonio to Laredo, even if you're only outside for like 15, 20 minutes, you are overhydrating.
Yeah.
Because you are going to be sweating or perspiring a lot. So, perhaps considering doing like a gallon challenge just to make sure you're staying more than well hydrated can keep you from some of those symptoms that can occur when you start sweating out and really start to become overcome with all that heat. Meanwhile, again, potential high temperatures for tomorrow. If you are looking for a little cool down, you might want to head up toward the northeast. Today in New York, I mean, even this morning, a little cooler. We were near 90 actually yesterday in spots.
Crazy.
So it's almost a welcome relief. We're in the low to mid 70s for highs today in NYC, and you can kind of see that painted here through the end of the month. So a little cooler than average, but for the rest of us, enjoy the heat.
Hit our business community. It went right through our main commercial corridor, and it's a tough night. I'm really proud of our team. I'm proud of our first responders for stepping up and working together, but certainly a scary evening and scary morning.
And that was Somerset, Kentucky Mayor Alan Keck, who joined us yesterday. And yes, scary is the first word that comes to mind.
Yeah, it was just incredible. As we mentioned before, Somerset, Kentucky Mayor Alan Keck, who joined us yesterday, scary was the first word that came to mind when you really try to wrap your mind around everything that we saw. By the way, Friday night was the stuff nightmares for people in Somerset and London, Kentucky are made of. Look at this tornado, only illuminated around 10 p.m., by the way, by the flashes of lightning. Incredible there. Here's another view of the tornado. We slowed it down just so that you can see it. Just look at that funnel, lit things up, of course, knocking down trees and power lines. This in London and Laurel County, Kentucky as well.
And after going through the heart of Somerset, the tornado headed straight for London. And we knew right away that the damage would be devastating as we were looking at some of that drone footage coming out of the area. That view from above, London seems to be the hardest hit area.
Yeah, and this is going to be so interesting to see just what the storm surveys reveal in terms of its intensity. Here's what we do know. At least 18 people dead in Kentucky, and just a terrible scene left behind. The prolific storm that went on for hundreds of miles and landed among some of the worst tornadic damage that we have seen in Kentucky in recent memory.
And before we head to break, let's check out today's weather warning update sponsored by Realtor.com. When we are considering the threat for severe weather today, we are really focusing in on the plains. Active severe thunderstorm watches are in effect, and we will likely have tornado watches issued later on today. But fire weather warnings, those are in effect for portions of the desert southwest. And then you look a little further to the north, in the Rockies, winter weather advisories. And in Idaho, as well as Montana, winter storm warnings, as we could be receiving upwards of a foot or more of snow. And then we talk about how chilly it is in portions of the northern plains, and even flood warnings are in effect for portions of the southeast. So make sure that you are avoiding any of those low-lying, flood-prone areas to stay safe.
Today's weather warning update is sponsored by Realtor.com. Get the Realtor.com app to see the environmental risks on every home.
Hey there. Hey. Hey there, how are you? I'm with Disabled American Veterans. I was wondering if you had a quick minute to thank America's veterans for their service and sacrifices.
Of course, why not?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Sure.
All right. Hey, well, come on in here. I'm just going to hit record on this.
I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I can't even think of the words to say of how grateful I am.
I just want to tell you guys how much you're appreciated.
But most importantly, I want to thank you for your courage and bravery.
Wow.
Thank you.
Someone here who'd like to say something to you.
Oh my gosh, you guys are awesome.
Someone has something they want to say to you.
Goodness, how's it going? Oh.
So I just want to let you know how much you're appreciated. How much you're appreciated.
I just feel honored for everything you've done.
Thank you for myself. Thank you for everybody.
I get to live every day, in peace because of you.
A lot of people thank us, but we want to take the time to thank you, honestly, for giving back. And when you give to DAV, you are supporting veterans like Dave, myself. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
You can say thank you to our nation's heroes by calling the number on your screen right now and giving your monthly support of only $19.
Say thank you by going to helpdav.org right now and give just $19 a month. When you do, we'll send you this DAV blanket as a thank you and a reminder that you support those who served.
Please call or go online to helpdav.org right now. Your support says thank you to our nation's disabled American veterans.
At Consumer Cellular, we pride ourselves on giving you fast, reliable, nationwide coverage at up to half the cost of the leading carriers. We've got more than that going for us. Like this beautiful store in Arizona, for example. It's the perfect place for me to tell you a little bit more about our phones and how they can become your phones. You name it, we probably got it. We have the top smartphones from all the major companies. If it's state-of-the-art cameras you want with space-age metal housing, we got them. If you want a smartphone with lots of bells and whistles but won't break the bank, we've got that too. We even have a flip phone, like the Iris Flip. We even have watches. I know what you're thinking. What if I don't have one of these amazing stores in my town yet? Can I get these phones sent to me?
Yes, you can.
Is it easy?
Easy as pie.
And for a limited time, new customers get their second month free. Call 800-869-7035.
Or visit consumercellular.com to switch today.
Talking about pick up the phone.
And welcome back to Weather Command Weekend. We are headed out now to Government Camp, Oregon, where it is cold out west. We're in the 20s. The snow is coming down. We have a chance for snow showers and even some breezy conditions all day long today. So a little bit of out in Government Camp, Oregon, but it's not just there. It's also places like in Idaho, as well as Montana. They might even see upwards of a foot or more of snow.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm at that point in my life and at that point like in the season where I just want sunshine.
Yes.
You know, well, both of us though, sun, and we like mild temperatures.
Yeah.
So only problem if you start a lot of sunshine, you know, especially with environment, that's the stage for strong to severe storms. And that's exactly what we're expecting in places like Oklahoma City on the left side of your screen. On the right side of your screen, you can see Noonan, Georgia. And both of these areas will see showers, will see thunderstorms, a few of which could be times. Interestingly, an update from the Storm Prediction Center. And the update looks like this. I'm going to focus in first on this update. It is a level 5 in terms of our severe weather threat index, mainly for areas in Kendall's home state of Kansas, but also in parts of middle and northern Mississippi and in parts of central Georgia right here. It's been upgraded to a level 2 out of 5. What's that mean? Well, it means that right now we're tracking some showers that could be a little rambunctious. It's one of the reasons why we have big old severe thunderstorm warning in effect just south of Atlanta. We'll show that to you in just a minute. But here is where the area is in which we're watching for an enhancement in our strong to severe. This is the west of Wichita. If you're familiar, say, Stafford is, St. John, Leonard, Great Bend, or I think it's pronounced Hoskinton, Kansas.
I actually have never heard of that town, and that is my home state. So.
Yeah, you know where Coldwater is?
Yes.
Okay, so this is like the area where we could be talking about some bigger storms firing up, generally like 4, 5, 6 p.m. this evening.
Yeah. So it's really a concern for folks, especially later on today. So again, you're waking up and conditions are relatively quiet, and you might be thinking, you know, what kind of severe weather are you talking about?
Right.
It seems like a perfectly fine day. And that is going to change, and it will be changing very fast. And that's just because of how and how conducive the environment really is. This level 4 to 5 risk, I really just want you to understand that the Storm Prediction Center does not issue these kinds of risks lightly.
Right.
This is a significant concern, and you have to take it seriously.
Yeah, we're talking about damaging winds. We're talking about large hail, baseball-sized hail, and then, of course, some destructive tornadoes in there as well. Let me show you what's going on right now, because parts of the southeast, let's focus in first, just south of Memphis, Tennessee, right? This is an area where we're seeing some heavier showers and thunderstorms crisscrossing I-5. You head into Georgia, though. This is my old stomping ground. So I spent many, many, many years in Macon, Georgia, and that's an area that's getting blasted with some storms. Thank goodness that flash flood warning that was in effect for Birmingham, Alabama, has been allowed to expire. But just toward the southeast, man, oh man, let me focus in on this one real quick, because just south of Macon, Georgia, you have what's called Thomaston, Zenith, and then here's where Macon is. This is going to blast the west side of Bibb County. Bibb County's right here, by the way. You have actually the mall that's not too far away from here, too. So if you are perhaps going to the mall, they're in Bibb County, just south and west of downtown Macon, Georgia, along Cherry Street. This is going to be a big thunderstorm. We're talking winds upwards of 60 miles per hour, an inch in diameter hail out of this. It's going to be loud with lots of lightning, lots of thunder, and this is going to race toward Perry. Perry is where the Georgia National Fairgrounds are at, not to mention Warner Robins. We have a huge Air Force base, Robins Air Force Base down that way. So this is going to blast through, and as it does so, I just wouldn't be surprised if we saw some downed trees and power lines. And, you know, Kendall, I know that you lived in Mississippi, right? So Mississippi and Georgia both have like these pine trees.
Yes.
And I mean, literally, I feel like they're this thick, right? Like they're super small. You sneeze and the pine trees start coming down.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
when you
shallow root system.
A very shallow root system. So when you see a big thunderstorm like this racing from, you know, northwest to southeast, blazing across the interstate, this is going to knock down a ton of trees. Has the opportunity to knock down a bunch of trees and power lines.
Yeah, and also when you're considering the overall soil moisture, if the soil moisture is pretty wet, which again, I'm going to take a look and just see, because that's kind of a key component to all of this. Yeah, I mean, especially where we're talking about the soil moisture is on the wetter side of things. So that means that, again, it's not going to take very strong wind gusts to topple over those pine trees. So take that into account. Again, you were mentioning some impacted cities, some areas that might be dealing with the worst of this severe warning storm. But yeah, it's a pretty rowdy one.
It is. And you know what I'm looking at right now and what you're seeing, this is velocities. This helps us to dive into the storm to see if there's any rotation. I'm not seeing any.
No.
I'm not seeing any rotation, so tornadoes not an issue. I'm looking at the hail parameter. Hail doesn't look like it's going to be a huge deal either. Just one of those storms. Stay inside until the storm system has passed.
Severe storms have been screaming across the country for the last week now. And we're sending one of our very own into the bullseye, the danger zone, to witness the ferocity of these storms firsthand. Fox weather meteorologist Haley Myers in Oklahoma City this morning, just hours away from tracking these storms that are going to be turning severe. And of course, Haley, we just had that new update from the Storm Prediction Center.
Yeah, Kendall, that's why it's so important to have an idea of what you want to do day of when things can take a turn. You get the moderate upgrade. And so Brandon Koppett came over to our hotel just last night. We sat down for about 30-45 minutes and just went through models, raked through what the environment is doing. You can see for Oklahoma City into the morning, we had a nasty cell that came in the later evening hours, wind, hail, you name it, we had it. Now at this point, we've got some cloud cover going on. That'll last through the better part of the morning, but that's not going to be the scenario into the afternoon for a lot of locations across North Oklahoma and southwestern Kansas. The big question for Brandon and I was, where do we go? Do we go further north up towards the surface low, where that's a little more close to the Nebraska-Kansas border, or do we hang farther south near the Kansas-Oklahoma border? The Kansas-Oklahoma border is going to be filled with storm trackers, so there is a layer of danger there that we'll have to be aware of, not only Mother Nature, but everybody else out across the road. But down towards southwestern Kansas, all of the ingredients are coming together. The wind shear kicking in with the low-level jet into the afternoon, moist air that's just ejecting further north. We're talking dew points, I'd say into the 70s for spots a bit further south of southwestern Kansas, but we'll be getting into the 60s for those dew points. So classic for a severe weather setup. The good news is that's going out a little further into more rural areas, very flat, so great visual opportunity. Sunset doesn't set around here until around 8:30 p.m. Central Time, so the bulk of this event will be great in terms of viewing and allows that safety for not only us as we're tracking out these storms, but also for locals in this area. I mean, we saw what happened in central Kentucky a few days ago with what a nighttime tornado can do. Incredibly dangerous. I'm going to give you a quick tour, though, of the Fox Weather Beast. This is where I will call home for the next 2 days. We're not only tracking today, but we're tracking tomorrow as well from 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Very similar areas, but we'll get into those details a little bit later. But on the top of the beast, we have a weather station. And so what that is doing is going to be feeding us temperature, dew point, pressure, all of the essential ingredients, especially as we travel from Oklahoma City north and farther out towards the west, towards about Goodland, Kansas, I think is where we're going to be shooting for at this point. You can see how things change and evolve, how much warmer the temperature gets. I mean, we're expecting temperatures to be upper 80s for a lot of these locations. Again, perfect for severe weather. Another thing you'll notice is this little camera. It's a 360 camera view, and I'll demonstrate how that works once I get into the beast. But that's going to allow me to show you what the storms are doing further up into the atmosphere. And it's crucial to see just how towering and tall these storms are. That can dictate hail, what a tornado could be doing or as it forms, and also damaging wind gusts. Kendall, you had pointed out earlier, hailstones could be 3 to 4 inches in diameter. That is massive baseball-sized hail. We're going to try to avoid that, especially because we need to preserve the windshield going into tomorrow's tracking event. But still, that's going to be another hazard for a lot of these folks. So I'm going to jump into the beast, kind of show you what you'll be looking at a little bit later on into the day. We've got a couple different camera shots for you. This is my camera right here. And at this point, you can see me and then Brandon Kopic, who will be traveling along with us, kind of helping us with everything. He will be right next door. And so what that's going to be doing, he can come in, you can see the interaction. This isn't really planned out. It's going to be raw, in the moment, what is happening as this event unfolds. Now, I also have a few controls that I can handle here in the Beast as well. You can't see it, but it's right in that center console. And what we have is this center system, and it will allow me to rotate and fix kind of what the roof cam is seeing. So I can switch it around, I can zoom in, I can zoom out. And so all of this is really crucial for the Fox Weather Beast. And so especially when we're tracking out these storms, I can allow you to kind of get into the heart of it with me. So I'm adjusting it right now with my camera. I can zoom in. You can see the winds that are starting to howl there with the American flag and then a flag for Oklahoma City. I can also change it out to the Fox Weather Beast out in the front. Let's see if I can figure that out. And what that's going to do is just show you what the road is doing. So we have a lot of different components here going into the next few hours. So be sure to stay tuned and stay prepared. I mean, we have a moderate risk today. The weather continues into Monday where we'll be tracking it out, an enhanced risk. And then we go into Tuesday, another round of severe storms. So May, it's been quiet tornadically for the first couple of weeks, but that storm door has been blown wide open for a lot of locations across the Central Plains, Kendall.
That it really has. And of course, you said it best, a very active stretch of weather ahead. So today, tomorrow, and I just want to say good luck to you and all of our other Fox Weather team members that are in the plains tracking out these storms. You all are going to do a great job. That was Fox Weather meteorologist Haley Meyer. And you can catch her later on tonight, live in the storm, beginning at 4 p.m. Eastern tonight and tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern right here on Fox Weather. More after this.
Gilt has the designers that get your heart racing. At insider prices, new, every day. Hurry and grab them. They'll be gone in a flash. Designer sales at up to 70% off. Shopgilt.com today.
We've moved so far away from the Constitution that in many ways we don't even recognize it.
In Hillsdale College's most popular online course, Constitution 101, distinguished politics professors teach you the meaning and history of the Constitution, how it's been undermined, and what it will take to restore it. Absolutely free at learnfromhillsdale.org. You'll learn the principles of American government, discover how the founders established the freest and most prosperous nation in history, see the ways we have moved beyond the Constitution in the past, and how we face a new crisis posed by the rise of the bureaucratic state.
We think that we're becoming more advanced by abandoning the Constitution and adopting something like an administrative state, that the administrative state intrudes upon even the minutest aspects of people's lives.
When you learn the facts about the Constitution and see that its principles are just as important today as when first written, you'll understand why we must fight to recover it for future generations.
Almost everybody in America, even people of very different perspectives, senses there's something deeply wrong with our political life. Recovery of the earlier constitutional understanding, I believe it's useful to help guide us, but at the very least, we have to understand it.
This exceptional content is available to you now. Signing up is easy and free when you go to learnfromhillsdale.org today. When you sign up, you'll enjoy 12 easy-to-follow lessons and be able to separate truth from fiction regarding the Constitution. Join more than 1 million Americans who've taken Constitution 101 or enjoy one of the many other course opportunities by signing up for free today.
You know, this course really does help you understand our protections and what this country is founded on.
I was really humbled by how much of history I'd forgotten. Everyone really needs to take this course.
To start your journey discovering the Constitution free of charge, go to learnfromhillsdale.org today.
Oof, this is kind of embarrassing. I'm Ashley here at 4 Patriots Warehouse, and we're completely overstocked.
Last year, our 4-week survival kit flew off the shelves. So we told our team, make more. And wow, did they deliver. But thanks to supply chain delays, everything showed up at once. Now we're out of space and doing something we've never done before. Buy one 4-week kit, get one absolutely free. They last 25 years, taste great, and are hand-packed right here in the USA. Go to 4patriots.com. This deal won't last long.
Gilt has the designers that get your heart racing. At insider prices, new every day. Hurry and grab them. They'll be gone in a flash. Designer sales at up to 70% off. Shop gilt.com today.
We're back on Weather Command weekend, and we are taking it up to the Northeast to take a look at all of the heavy rain that folks, especially in New York, as well as the surrounding areas, have been picking up. So Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, getting in on some light to moderate rain so far this morning, and that trend is going to continue as this big area of low pressure, you can clearly see that counterclockwise rotation, is still sitting and spinning directly overhead. Now, it is going to be departing the region later on today, but unfortunately, you think back to just what has occurred over the past 24 hours, and it's done a number on the region. Really, when we're talking about the storm reports, we have had a lot in the way of damaging wind reports, also a few large hail reports, and there was even, oddly enough, a report of a possible microburst. So this occurred just to the south of Albany, just to the east of I-87, and this is going to be an area where the National Weather Service is most likely going to be sending a team out to survey the damage there, because there's numerous reports of downed trees, a few power lines. So again, it was pretty active yesterday. And then we're talking about today being still active, but not really in the way of severe storms. It's more just the potential for some flash flooding issues. That's really kind of focused in on portions of northern and central Maine. So if you live in Caribou, all the way down through Millinocket, Bangor, Madison, I just really want you to be on guard and just avoiding those low-lying flood-prone spots in your community. You know them better than anyone. So just avoid those spots, those poor drainage areas, because as this storm system departs the region, we are going to have rain on the backside of that area of low pressure. And it will also be moderate to heavy at times. So if you live in Burlington, Albany, expect rain off and on throughout the afternoon and evening hours. That might unfortunately hamper some of your outdoor plans for today. But by tomorrow morning, this is the good news, we're finally starting to see better conditions on the way. And then we have to talk about what's in store for the rest of the week, because unfortunately, we have several more days of rain in store for the Northeast. And the Eastern Pacific hurricane season began just last week, and we're only days away from the beginning of the Atlantic hurricane season. So let's take a look at the current situation in the tropics, because at least as of right now, Michael, things are quiet. That's what we certainly want to see, the fact that it is still May after all, but things could be getting active here soon.
Yeah, thank goodness when we do a tropical analysis on both the Atlantic hurricane season, which doesn't begin until another 2 weeks, literally 14 days away from now, and then the Eastern Pacific, which actually began on May the 15th. Right now, tropical development looks unlikely, and this would be the zone that we look for in main development region area. And the reason why we're not seeing a ton there is because of all of that dust that's in play. And as you know, you have a ton of dust that you throw into the atmosphere. It almost acts to snuff out the growth and development of tropical systems.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. So one of those overall ingredients that we need for tropical systems to develop is moisture, and yeah, it's hard to come by when you've got a lot of dust in the atmosphere right through the main development region. So that's some good news. We also think about the fact that our sea surface temperatures, they are warm, but they're not as warm as they were this time last year. Mind you, they will be warming as we head into the next few months, but still, it doesn't appear to be perhaps as active of a start as maybe we've seen in years past.
Yeah, and to your point, it was literally historic temperatures when it came to sea surface temperatures in the equatorial regions of the Atlantic Ocean, and really just the Atlantic Ocean in general, from the Caribbean Sea to the Gulf to the open waters. Same sort of story out in the Pacific. Not a whole lot of development likely out that way, which is great news. However, when we look at when we see climatological peaks, typically, this is for the Eastern Pacific, by the way, this is not for the Atlantic, but typically that peak occurs in late August and early September. However, for the Atlantic, it's actually I believe the exact date is September the 10th and 11th, which are the climatological peaks.
Yeah, so it's a little bit later on, of course, but then you're looking at this. So this date, June 10th, this is our average date of our first named tropical system in the Eastern Pacific Basin. And then June 26th, that's the average date of our first hurricane in the Eastern Pacific Basin. So here's a look at the list of storm names. Alvin would be up first, followed by Barbara. So I think that's always the question people want to know, is my name on the list this year? And remember, there are 2 lists. So you got to check the Pacific and you got to check the Atlantic.
Yeah, no, that's so true. That is so true. I'm trying to think if I've ever heard of a Kendall.
I don't think so, but I don't want that to happen either.
No, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. I know that there certainly was a Michael that hit, I think it was like Mexico Beach. But either way, though, you can see it right here. We always look at, how does the water temperatures impact our forecasting for the Atlantic Basin. We look toward what's known as the equatorial region of the Pacific Ocean, whether it is warmer than average or cooler than average. That then depends on or determines whether or not we see an El Nino or a La Nina. La Nina meaning, of course, we'll see more of an active season in the Atlantic. So a lot that we factor in, but at least for the next week, we're calm in both the Atlantic and the Pacific.
That's what we like to hear. All right, well, areas hit by Friday's severe weather outbreak are still dealing with the damages. The National Weather Service reported a large, extremely dangerous tornado in Switz City, Indiana. Now, it's being reported that at least 75 homes were damaged, 110,000 people were left without power, and 1 woman was sadly killed during the storm. A large rope tornado also struck in Scott County, Missouri during this outbreak. According to the Scott County Sheriff's Department, 2 deaths have been confirmed and at least 10 people were injured. The damage was widespread and multiple homes were lost there. Now, Friday wasn't the only day that this outbreak caused destructive storms. Mayville, Wisconsin was hit by a tornado-warned storm on Thursday. This caused significant damage, destroying homes and displacing residents. So this has been a very active stretch, to say the least, weather-wise, and we are continuing with that exact same trend. So this is, again, taking a look back at what has occurred, and we have had numerous either tornado warnings and or severe thunderstorm warnings for much of the eastern 2/3 of the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Over 700 severe thunderstorm warnings, over 120 tornado warnings, with several confirmed tornado warnings. Those are those pink boxes that you're seeing that did slice through parts of southern Missouri and then, of course, southern Kentucky. And that is really the most urgent, if you will, of tornado warnings. When you have a confirmed tornado, meaning that it's been visually sighted, or our radar is actually indicating debris that's been lofted into the air. And some of that debris could be power lines, and it's one of the reasons why we still are fighting through power outages.
Yeah, so when we're looking at our power outage tracker, unfortunately, Michigan still remains at the top of our list with more than 50,000 customers without power. Missouri, Alabama, the list goes on of states that have been impacted, especially by recent rounds of severe weather. So unfortunately, we've got more on the way, and that's why this is a situation where it's so important that you are staying ahead of it and you are preparing you and your family, because some of the exact same areas that have been recently ravaged by severe weather, Michael, will likely be under the threat of severe storms once again today and in the coming days.
Yeah, in the coming days, it does include places like Kentucky. You can see that big, giant supercell right here. That was the one that was responsible for causing all of the unfortunate deaths and, of course, the destruction that we saw as that system just matured quickly. It passed over several of the interstates, then moving into Paducah, Kentucky, southern Kentucky around Bowling Green. And then, as we know, you can see where Pulaski County is here, and then London and Laurel County right there, with just immense devastation, immense destruction is what they're fighting through right now as we speak. It wasn't just there either. We look back toward places like St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah.
And St. Louis was also under the gun with some big, huge storms as well that unfortunately spawned, tornadic type damage.
Yeah, an EF3 tornado. It began on the west side of town and tracked to the north. And so, again, our thoughts and prayers are with not just the residents that were impacted in St. Louis, but all of the surrounding communities, because it has been an incredibly tough go of things recently, and we're not done just yet. We are definitely in the thick of severe weather season right now, Michael.
Yeah, and we mentioned it right off the top, but the National Weather Service has just upgraded. This is new within like the past half an hour or so, has upgraded that region for today. Here's what today's general region looks like, is right here. But basically, it's part of Kansas that is now in a level 4 out of 5 on our severe weather threat index?
Yeah, so when you think about where this area of low pressure is really going to be strengthening over the plains, and it's pretty slow moving, it'll be a little bit closer to the state line, Nebraska, Kansas, but this general zone in central Kansas, that's where we have the greater potential for the potential of these supercells rotating and producing tornadoes, some of which could be strong, so EF2 or stronger. That's the biggest issue. Large hail is also a concern, baseball to softball size hailstones. And then if that weren't enough, well, some of these storms are going to be producing really strong wind and even intense rain. That is one of those hidden factors, Michael, of this overall severe weather event that I don't want people to say, just rain, flooding, no big deal, because unfortunately, that is a kind of higher killer when you think about weather-related killers compared to tornadoes, hurricanes. It goes heat and then it goes flooding.
I actually think, Kendall, that flooding, unfortunately, I don't hate to sound so pessimistic, but flooding kills more people per year than any other natural disaster, over tornadoes, over hurricanes, over ice storms. It is flooding. I think right above that's heat. But either way, though, it is certainly one of those things where you need to do your due diligence and watch those creek, river, and stream levels by your home. It's today, but also tomorrow. Could we see an upgrade tomorrow? There's a slight chance.
Yeah, I think there definitely is a chance. And also, if you're sitting at home and you're wondering, is this normal to have a day of update? It's actually very normal. The Storm Prediction Center continues to get more and more data. The weather balloon launches that are collecting critical information. That is what is going into these overall forecasts for severe weather. So if you're just wondering, okay, how is this all coming about? When you're looking at this warm front, that'll be lifting its way northward today, along with that boundary, that dry line, which is very characteristic for this part of the country. It's just separating the warm, moist air mass from that warm, dry air mass back behind. That's the collision zone, Michael, and that's why it's going to be so volatile.
Yeah, I'm concerned that even, as we head through this evening and, of course, into tomorrow and then in the days ahead, it is going to be a violent sort of stretch of days ahead of us. And so having ways to actively receive warnings, not just when it's daylight outside, but also when it's night out, when it's in the evening or nocturnal storms develop too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we are going to be with you each and every step of the way. Fox Weather, we are your severe weather HQ. You can download that free Fox Weather app if you haven't done so already to stay up to date with the latest weather information for your location. Another hour of Weather Command Weekend is straight ahead on Fox Weather. I'm Kendall Smith.
Yeah, I'm Michael Esme. We'll see you on the flip side of this break.